In this spiritual model, we see the physical world as a drama stage. The soul is the actor, and the body is like a mask. There is natural freedom from expectations in a story. This is easy with spiritual sight, the paras intellect, broad, subtle, and divine. This is a big secret to life. We see everything is good and everyone is good. With paras glasses, this is a drama, it becomes neutral. Starting position, all are divine. In contrast, pata is stuck with just the story. Attention on the home and the starting position is like light. With pata, light is just on the drama, so gets impressed and attached. So in essence, we have the option lower consciousness of the beggar, the victim, and the slave, or the higher consciousness, the invisible traveler, who is never a beggar, never a victim, never a slave. That paras spiritual sight helps with this. The invisible traveler comes to the physical world with the feeling to give. So what were your highlights from yesterday, and how is your homework? Is to draw the big sketch. I really was experiencing the power of the gathering yesterday, that this collective attention, like was said, is like light. In one sentence, we have freedom to see this, and a great time to do it in the new year. So welcoming everyone again, those who've just joined, and going to hand over to Prashant. Welcome.
Thank you, and hello, and good evening. In a short time, in 1 minute, we get a beautiful summary of what we covered in over 2 hours, and that is so nice. But that is also the secret of learning. Whatever we learned, if we create 2 minutes to revise it, the benefits are disproportionately greater. Not just once, but we need the revision few times over a period of a week. This is the law for any learning. And here what we are discovering is a subject that is central to everyone's life. We are understanding life itself and understanding our mind, understanding our huge potential. So it is definitely worth creating these few minutes. So let us create a few minutes now, and let us create this opportunity to experience. And it is so simple. This understanding of the glasses, we said, use different glasses with different colors, you see things differently. In the same way, paras is like the one set of glasses. It removes the blinkers, means blinders. You are able to see the full picture with paras. Patthar has got blinkers. And what we see In 1 second, we are seeing the whole physical world is a story. Just as we saw camel and elephant story, no different. Everything that happened from morning till now, we are understanding it is a story. Paras perspective means this. We are not mixing it. We are not saying something is story, something is not a story. During this minute, we see we are dealing with the story, which means there is nothing to complain about and nothing to be worried about, nothing to crave for, nothing to cry for. We are experimenting with the new perspective. With Paras, we are seeing the world beyond the story. We as if get permission to step out, even though it is for a few seconds. And the moment we step out, we are discovering that dimension beyond the story. And beyond the story, there is silence. There is no noise of the story. With eyes open or eyes closed, we experience this dimension in the image of a sky. Sky beyond the sky. World of light expands. Mind's eye is seeing that expands. Even as we hear these words, timeless, changeless, endless. This world is important because this is the real. This is not a story. It is important. It is the main world. It is the eternal world. For Paras, this is not just a meditation experience. This is the home. This is the home for everyone. We are realizing that everyone is safe. Everyone is lucky. They all have a home. They have the true family. They themselves are immortal. We are able to see the complete picture. And now we are understanding truth is immensely beautiful for everyone. Universe is good. Universe is positive. Truth is beautiful. As we come back in the story world, we come in the story world as invisible guests. Invisible traveler is the invisible guest. is the invisible actor, is the invisible observer of the story. He has the option to stay with the paras. It is like the biggest luxury. Just using the right glasses, we are seeing the same world so differently. We have the freedom to see things differently. Thank you. So we will be using our whiteboard. We will be getting this whiteboard every day. Some simple things for us to know. We are using this image. This is our field. Our whole life is revolving around this box. And it is useful for us to know what happens and our different ways of looking at this box. It is relevant. One famous message from Socrates: unexamined life is not worth living. Question, that was his whole philosophy. Question things, see things differently, examine. So here is our word. 100% of sorrows in the world are because of this. 100% of desperations, desires are connected with this box. 100% of vices are connected with this box. 100% of ego are connected with this box. If we have a wrong attitude towards this, we get all of it. Today's world, as was said, if it is unexamined, then you are getting sucked into this world. Question is how far one has gone in this. That is a question. But you are getting all of it as you go there. We have the option to have a different attitude towards this. Same word, but we have the option to see the same word differently. You are fully involved in it, but attitude is different. That is when we call it being above this dotted line. And what is the difference? Do you want to tell? What is the different attitude? Can you tell in one word? What is the option I have? You are still dealing with the world, and we have the option to see this world differently. What happens if I am above the line, dotted line? What would you call that perspective?
The guest.
Yeah, the word guest, that summarizes it beautifully. And that because the moment you are having this attitude, you are a guest, then it just means you are very rational. You are not having a blind spot. You know the exit. And you know that it is childish to start claiming things in that world that doesn't belong to us. Just as you are going to someone's house or someplace, you are involved, but I don't need to start claiming people there and start claiming objects there. That is, it appears clever to claim things and to own things, but but there is an exit and you suffer. Children become childish, sorrows. Same happens here. The moment you cross the line, you are into that different game altogether. So in this, you are now involved, at the same time free. Some people use the word detached involvement. So you are involved very much. Guest is like that. He's involved. He can do many things. Sometimes, a guest may visit our place here and ends up doing more things than those who are staying here. And why? Because when you are a guest, there is a happiness. And same thing happens here in this world. When you are a guest, you find yourself secure. Guest on this planet, guest in the body. Even for a few minutes, you are playing with it. You are discovering that sense. And this security is coming from beyond. When person crosses the line in that childish mode, he thinks he's secure, but that security is coming from that insecure world. He says, all this is my gold, I'm secure. Whereas here, he's secure because of wisdom. And as was said, and we saw before, when you feel secure, it brings out the best in you. And when anyone is insecure, it brings out the worst from you. Anyone, even your dog, cat, you make them insecure, it will bring out their worst. They will start to bark. You or bite. If it's a cat, it will come to, here you make yourself secure. It will bring out the best. So, quick summary and revision for us. You want to add anything? Say anything?
One question from the end of yesterday. Where does worry fit into this model of expectation?
Yes. And so, as was said, the moment you cross the line here and start seeing things differently, I then start using the word my here. The moment you are in that spiral, downward spiral, and you have created bondage with the unpredictable world, your insecurity now is based on this. Your security is based on this world, and your insecurities are based on this world. Mind means now I can lose it. Instantly, same second, subconscious worry will start. And then something happens outside and things actually are going and breaking and someone starts a war, someone starts behaving in a strange way. You feel, oh, am I secure here? Am I going to lose things? And so worry will start. Worry starts from the first second we cross the line, but it is subconscious. But we act from that. That's why the greed and all this behavior starts.
What about having values and standards? Is it okay to walk away when they are not met? Or is it a kind of expectation that I need to look at?
Yeah, it is an expectation. If I honor, if I value the values and virtues and certain standards, certain principles, it is nice for me to put them into practice. But as regards the world outside, in the story, from the camel and elephant, I watch what happens. There is a script. Elephant will behave by the script, and dragon will behave by the script. I don't demand values there. I may promote, nothing wrong with that. You may promote, that elephant and everyone know the great values. But then, as was said before, you step back and you are prepared for the unexpected. That is absolute principle. With that unpredictable world, your position is prepared for the unpredictable.
I think that that covers a few comments that were written. The comment was, I've noticed it's easy to have the attitude of observer when everything is going well. But if something doesn't and I'm triggered, I'm quickly sucked in, invested, and then lose energy. So I think you've covered that, unless you want to add anything.
Yeah, in this, even though we may understand what is possible, we still need to create time. It is like the homework. We have to, if we understand, yes, this is the right way to see. I want to see it this way. I don't want to cross the line. If I understand it, still the homework is necessary. And every minute you are practicing this, you as if go up the spiral. Just understanding itself doesn't change our attitudes, and our reactions will change if that homework is done. Every minute we spend there, it is nourishing that higher consciousness.
One question, could you expand on what you mean by secure and insecure?
Yeah, we discussed it in more detail last few sessions. Secure, feeling that you are going to be safe and you are going to survive. This is like a deep need of each and every one. We mentioned on the first day, we want harmony with the environment, and we can't beat this. This is the need of each and every creature. They want harmony. Animal, it is, they try different ways to create harmony. King wants harmony, and so also subject. Everyone, so they try to create some temperature that is appropriate. Build castles so that they can be harmony. In the same way, it is an absolute need for us to survive. It is a huge reaction happens. And at a subtle level, we can use the word being secure. It reassures us, I'm going to survive. Now, the paradox here is that we all are immortal. So there is no real crisis there. Regardless of what happens in the story, you are immortal. And your nature and everyone's nature is of supreme harmony. Such is our truth. That's why we are saying the truth is positive, and our universe is positive. It is beautiful. This is what we are mentioning. And all that has happened when we cross the line, we are seeing things upside down. Instead of seeing that we are already safe, we try to make ourselves safe and secure in that temporary world. That is the upside down situation. You remember that dotted line, uh, green dotted line, we call it a line of ignorance. Patthar is holding us in that, in a confusion. And then we are trying to be secure and immortal in a world that is innately temporary. And we have guaranteed exit.
This may touch on the subject of today, but one question. What if I say, it's my body, is this mine?
In it, ultimate attitude, one who is soul conscious, he sees himself as a guest in this world. He sees himself at most a trustee of many things in that world. Including the body. Like there is family and there are many things we are involved with. Right now I'm using a computer here and there are table and many things around me. I'm responsible, so I am looking after all this, but maximum I'm a trustee and I can't own it or I don't need to own it. I have an exit. If I was to own it, I should be able to take it with me. But I can't take it with me. Same thing with the body. I can't take it with me. We go to our home just as invisible travelers and is so trusty of the body. That is the right attitude. In a ordinary language is one thing, but deep inside, what is truth? It is not my body.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll come to the subject of today. And if it is okay.
Yes.
So far we have seen that we come in this spiral and it is like a gravity non-stop. Like if you meet 100 people, just try and see what they are trying to achieve. They're busy all day. They just want to claim more. The chant that is going on in their mind and in their words also. More, more, more. How can I get more in this? So they are going further down the spiral. That is the non-stop gravity that is going on. So we cross the line, and in that confusion, when we have crossed the line, we find ourselves in a state where we start to identify with things in that temporary world. So the word we are using here is identification. And how do we understand this word? This word identification. We said one way to create a bondage is to start creating expectation. There is a cloud. I start creating expectation. This cloud will stay here. Cloud will not change colors. That is already expectation. Next level of bondage is start using the word my. So this is my cloud. That is the next level. And identification. How do you understand the word identification? When I first asked one who was speaking to me on this subject. If there's a cat is eating something and something gets stuck in the cat's throat. And if I feel as if it is happening to me, that is identification. If it is happening to me. And one good example of this identification I have is one friend of mine acting in a theater. He's an actor acting in a theater. And in his words, the role in which he was acting that part, he said that role started taking over to the doctors, and doctors told him to stop acting. Like there was confusion, there was identification with that role. It is a bit like, you start feeling I'm James Bond. It was confusion like that. You heard the name Mark Chapman? Mark Chapman liked John Lennon. He had posters of John Lennon, listened to music by John Lennon. He had hairstyle like John Lennon. And then time came, he started to feel he himself is John Lennon. So that is all what we call identification. You use the image, you think it is not just mine, like I might say, so and so is my friend, my brother, my something, you're claiming another person to be mine. Here it goes to another level, it is I. You identify with the other person. So the examples we gave, these are like a gross conscious. Let us see the subconscious identification that happens. And I like to give the example here of a tree or a plant, just a simple. There is a plant here, and I'm a guest and I am looking after this plant. And people say, oh, this plant is nice. I just water the plant and people say, oh, plant is nice. And gradually I start to like this, people praising the plant. And now someone criticizes the plant. I feel a bit offended by this. They say plant is ugly, I take a little offense. And if that does happen, why? If I was to ask you, they say plant is ugly, I take the offense. Why? Why do I take the offense?
So why do you take the offense from the lovely plant? Okay, let's see if there are any answers.
All that I was doing, I was just watering the plant, looking after the plant, and now someone, they didn't say anything about me. They are my friends. They are okay with me, but they say the plant is ugly, and I take the offense. Why?
Identifying with the plant, you become attached. It reflects our identity. You feel responsible for its well-being. And the ego, ownership, you get insulted, bruised my ego.
Yeah, very good. So what is happening now? Here is a plant, but it is the subconscious process, this downward spiral that is going on, that gets, pulls everything into me. So I start to say this plant is part of me. I start claiming it subconsciously. Consciously, I know I don't own that plant, but subconsciously it has become part of me. I give myself self-respect based on the plant. When people praise the plant, I feel it is reflecting on me, this kind of thing, so my self-respect is going up. Then time comes, I start to give birth to an I based on the plant. I define myself based on the plant. So that is what the identification is. Now, when someone says this plant is ugly, this I feels you're talking about me. It is not just a plant is ugly. There are many plants people don't like. Then it is not, I don't take offense. But this plant I don't like, this I is taking it personally and he takes the offense. This is identification. Now let us come to our world here. This environment, so in this environment, there are many things. There is house and there is car and you got a cat and you got a dog and you got dollars. The world is lots of people. Do we identify with, you saw the example, me identifying with the plant. Do we identify like this? Do we have personal examples? We are saying here all along, there is this invisible traveler. Invisible traveler is just passing through this world. That's why he's traveler. He has an exit. He's a guest there. And now he starts creating one bondage after another. He starts saying this is, his expectations start with that word. Then he starts saying this is mine and this is mine. Then it start owning things. In that story, we are talking about camel and elephant story. He's thinking he can own things. And do we identify? Do you have any personal experiences identifying?
Is there anything we don't identify with? Maybe some examples to help the reflection.
Yeah. Can you give some example from your personal experience? Do you take anything personally? That is what gives you an idea. Any praise or criticism, are you going to take it personally?
So you mean identification with our children's performance and with our roles and what we achieve. So it can be the workplace, but even volunteering we may do. Also education. The things that we wear, our clothes, maybe the shop that we tend to frequent.
Yeah, very good. And that's so you get an idea. See the absurdity of that whole situation. We are talking about the word I, and this word I cannot be used so casually. But when we have crossed a line, we can do very absurd things. And we can use the letter I there based on the car, based on your town. You may take offense. Someone says that town is not a good town, you might take an offense. One time the Queen, Queen of England, she had to apologize because she said something about somewhere, some city, I don't want to repeat. And so the mayor and people of the city complained. So people take offense, if you just say something about the town, people identify. People identify with religion. They may not practice the religion.
Yeah, some interesting comments. Religion was one, my extensive library, our past, our time, every choice and effort we play a part in.
Yeah, very good, very good. The subtleties, But coming to the religion, you may not even practice it. You are not understood even the religion, but they will identify with the religion. They will ready to declare a war, identify with ideas. Sometimes they are science ideas. It is not that some people say, oh, religions they start war. No, it can be any idea, political idea. They identify with the idea and they will react, behave in the same way. Now, what happens with all this identification? And you already gave examples. Identify with clothes, identify with the body, identify with your children, and sometimes identify with the dog, even shoes. Once we cross that line, we are in that uncharted territory. Can go anywhere. This I we are talking here, subconscious identification is represented by this. Subconscious or conscious, it will react the same way. This I is very insecure. Any bondage in that box makes you insecure. This identification is a deeper bondage and it makes you very insecure. Why? Because subconsciously you are thinking, if someone destroys this, I die. This is your subconscious, interpretation. If someone destroys this I, it is like a death. I die. And that is why this huge energy comes, to fight. It is a battle for survival. And they are ready to declare a war or get angry. They want to fight. In different ways. Can go any level. When we use the word my, that is already insecurity, but here is the insecurity of losing things. If I lose, it is like you feel insecure. But with the I, insecurity is much bigger. It also means all your other reactions, whether it is stress and anger and envy and sorrows and depressions, they all will be now multiplied. They are also bigger. Just the question now is, how big is the I? In some people, this I can be much, much bigger. As an example, someone is a president of a country. Okay, already he starts creating an I because the president, that is a constant feeding going on. You are so wonderful. This is all, we are all alive because of you, this kind of thing. If he's the president of the country for 20 years, what will happen? That I will just get 20 times bigger. Now, what will be the result of this? That I becomes 20 times bigger. What will be the main obvious result of that? That I had taken birth. Someone is very innocent, just like anyone else. He ends up becoming the president. And then he is the president, continues to be the president. And everyone is saying he's so wonderful, he's so wonderful. It goes on for 20 years. What will be the result?
Someone said depends on where you are. Everything feels like a threat, or dictator, becoming a dictator.
Yeah, the big thing that happens, the insecurity becomes deeper. His insecurity becomes 20 times bigger. That is the problem of people, any success, if it goes in the stomach of this false identity, it backfires. So if the insecurity is 20 times bigger, then it is miserable. He will have bigger anger and bigger stress and bigger sadness. He will react with bigger force. And then country and the world will have to face the music. But leave aside the presidents, this is our story also. Whichever I we have given birth to, it wants to get bigger, because that insecurity is it is like a parasitic. In a moment you become insecure, you want to take more, because you want to feel secure. But it is in a reverse gear. More you get, you are more insecure. This is the downward spiral trap. So this is the story of the present world, and it is the story of all of us. We have reached a level where we have created these identities, and these identities rule our life. This is not academic. This is what we are discussing today. The identities. It may appear nice subject to know. It is much more than academic, because our decisions are are taken by these false identities. They influence our life. They rule our mind. Various thoughts that are going on, they are result. Seed is these false identities. The various anxieties, sorrows, and they are behind them is this I. Some might think it is selfish, but it is not even selfishness, because the self is a illusory self, false self is ruling and becoming selfish. We want to see how I can bring the true self in the in place, become the master and rule our lives. This false self is like a confused, because to get to this level, the birth of these false identities, you need to be in that space of ignorance. You necessarily need to cross that line. So false self is, its starting position is ignorance, and its life is insecurity and greed and anxiety. This is its life, and that is ruling our lives, ruling our minds. You want to add anything? Say anything?
Yes, there are quite a few questions. On the note of the president, if someone practiced with strong awareness and Paris intellect, then could someone not be a valuable leader and not come into the spiral if the mass?
Oh, definitely, definitely. We are talking of the present world, where we have crossed the line and we don't know that we don't know. Such is our present world state. But definitely, if we create a society where we are on the other side of the line, then the game is completely different.
If children or adults don't get some feedback, validation for the positive actions, they may lose confidence. So how do you find the balance of encouragement, validation, but not feeding the ego?
Yeah, there are some positive thinking or How to Win Friends, this kind of books, Dale Carnegie kind of books. They say, praise people, be lavish in praise. That wins friends. People like to hear the praise. And now here the message is different. You you need to give feedback to others, and feedback is necessary, positive, negative. But when it goes beyond the feedback, you know, and it has power to feed the false identity in other people, other person, then I'm not a good friend, because that false identity becomes a problem for the other person. These are like parasites, these false identities. They distract the other person from what is really useful to him. I'll give an example. And person, one girl, she, this is many, many years ago, but remember this example. She said, before I go out to work, I I try 8 different dresses. And I was sort of thinking, what is it? That is not we all may identify with the body appearance, but what is it that makes her feel she has to try 8 different things? But it also shows the insecurity that she has got. And the story is that when she was small, everyone would tell her, she's so pretty, she's so pretty. That is what she heard. And in words or otherwise, she was treated as pretty. And then what happens? This is like a constant feedback going on, but it is more than feedback, as was said. She gives birth to this identity based on appearance, and that identity gets bigger and bigger. And now she's working in some job, and no one says anything about her appearance. And this identity feels something is wrong, a bit feel uncomfortable. That was said, the moment this identity is there, it is insecure anyway, but now this identity has become bigger, more insecure, and no one says anything. A whole day has gone. So she goes and buys another dress, and she hopes everyone will be noticing, saying something, and nothing happens. So she is disturbed, So that's why life has become like a problem, wrecked, totally. And what is the reason, that all that all that is so it is a success, if someone has a good appearance, it is success. But if it is going into the wrong stomach of this false I, then it is not good news. John Lennon, in the example of John Lennon, we were mentioning about Mark Chapman before. I heard an interview with John Lennon, and this interview was taken in 1975. And he says, my life is a torture. He uses that word. Life is a torture. And he says, anyone releases music, it disturbs him. Someone says something, it disturbs me. And life is a torture. But the next line he says, it is because of my ego. He has discrimination to spot it. He says, artist, great ego. So just like this girl, we give the example, so here, praise, fame, success. And if you are not clever, it is feeding this false identity, to getting bigger and bigger. And bigger the false identity, it is like a torture. Just want to come to another, just complete this subject. Let us take a photograph. If we were to take a photograph of the mind, you will see a picture like this. And in this picture, you will see that there are many, many eyes. Selfie, if you, that should be a special, maybe next iPhone, they might come with this, option to take a selfie, and you will be able to see your mind, photograph the mind. But you might be surprised to see there are many, many eye there. One is eye based upon your dress, another eye based upon your children, and one eye is based upon what house and car. But one big eye that you are the head of the department. But someone else has got even bigger eye than the head of the department, that she is the wife of the head of the department. So as that is going on, what happens is your true I becomes smaller and smaller. There is a traveler there. That is the only truth about a person. There was a time we all start from a position like this. And as we go further, we give birth to this false I, and then we feed them and make them bigger and bigger and bigger. We said earlier, parasite, but another image, any illness, it can destroy the original organ also. It can be bacteria or cancer. Same thing happens. This is like an illness in the soul. It gets so big, people are busy feeding this, and I want to be important. And every identity wants to get bigger because they are insecure. But it is at a cost. The true self, that identity is cornered until it remains like a tiny dot. Our starting position is like this. It means a lot. Someone is in inner life is like this, clean. It means a lot. It means you are secure. You are about that line in an absolute way. You are secure, and your personality is coming from that space. He has no fear. Story, he knows. Story is harmless. He knows in the story there will be, dragons, and there will be beginning, and there will be end, and someone is creating problem. There will be jokers. That things are breaking, and there will be war. That is the nature of the story. But he knows he is beyond harm. His word is beyond harm. He knows his world is positive, remains beautiful. He knows everyone is beautiful, everything is beautiful. Not a theory. When that deeper shift has happened, that is his experience, that is his life. That's what he feels. Everyone is good and everything is good. He's in that experience of the truth. That truth remains. But when the inner life has changed, when the inner life comes to this level, then it is completely different. As John Lennon is saying, life is a torture. If John Lennon is saying this, what about others? It'd be nice to hear some thoughts from you.
So there are half a dozen questions, so we can maybe bring some now. You probably touched on this, but it's an interesting question. Why is identity important to us?
And a false identity, is that the question? Why is false identity?
Just identity. You can maybe.
Sure. Identity is a function, and that is happening just like there are different functions. We have emotions, we have, thoughts. Identity is another function that is going on. And but for the false identity, that, as was said, once you give birth to anything, it wants to survive. It is very important for that identity. It is very important to survive. An insect, like any mosquito, wants to survive. So also this false identity want to survive. When we use the word ego in our language, ordinary language, all these false identities together, we use the word ego for that.
Isn't it necessary to try to get more money, at least to survive, if cost for rent and taxes and prices for food and energy are increasing? Better to have more and another job than to end up without a home.
Yeah, and do everything that we are doing at present. But when we are seeing the bigger map, we do it as a trustee. That is the only difference. We organize things, do things, plan things, and why not just a little more money? You may have even more money. Plan for the next whole year even. But as a trustee, not forgetting that your world is not forgetting your real world, and not forgetting that it is still a story. You may plan everything, but suddenly things can change, and you are prepared for the unexpected.
Surely, as human beings, we have a need to belong to a family, and when these relationships aren't positive, it causes great pain. Any comments?
Yeah. Here, when we are into Paras, you discover the true family. The reason we have this instinct that we are having some idea of how the family should be, how people should be, that perfection, belonging, it is because at a starting position, we have this life of immense love and belonging and harmony and immortality. We all have experienced it. Just that when we cross that line, we are looking for it in this temporary world. And then it takes the form of expectation, demand, it can, and maybe disappointment. But when we get ourselves the right way up, your need is fulfilled. And this is practical, not, as was said, it is not academic. You will discover that your need is fulfilled. It is already there, harmony. And you are now coming into this world, but you can expect and you can accept the unexpected.
Very interesting. It would be lovely to hear the follow-up thoughts on that. One question. I have a relative suffering a lot, and the physical pain is because of terminal disease. And this person is thinking of ending her own life. According to your model, Is it to be advised, understanding there is no need to cling to the physical world and there's actually no such thing as death?
Yeah. We will be talking more on other subjects in the next few sessions that will help us understand better questions of this nature. But in essence, just dying doesn't solve it. Like a euthanasia, for example, something like that, doesn't solve the uh, the problem. But the best thing that can happen to the individual, and this applies to everyone, is this to bring about this change. To be in any life situation when there is pain or pleasure, party going on in one place and then some pain in another place. Everyone, and the message is that we need to change the posture. Use the time to see the life, the world, the right way up. And then he is using the time in a worthwhile way, and the future will be positive. It just death doesn't change the future because there are deeper reasons why situations come to us. And just person's sake, there are some who may think he wants to commit suicide. I'm just giving an example. Some life situation is painful. He says, I am immortal, so I commit suicide. No, the situation will come again. There is a spiritual model says that just death doesn't take us back to the home. There are deeper reasons why situations come to us, and they have to be addressed.
Yeah, thank you. I know that there will be more depth on the answer, but I wonder if it's relevant. The pain is inevitable, but misery is a choice in this case. With some understanding. Why does someone take praise easily? Is it from insecurity as well?
Ego, that false identity, he will try to take anything. Praise coming from anywhere, he would like to record it and listen to it again. So that there is that element, and but insecurity is another reason.
Sometimes there is concern for not feeding the ego in another. Then one might be stringent with praise and cause self-doubt in someone else. How do you become clever in discerning whether to give feedback or not in genuine cases?
Yeah, as was mentioned before, feedback, you know, cautious feedback that is good enough. But the highest thing we can do is our spiritual vision. That we are understanding now that here is the drama, there is a part of the camel and elephant here. But behind the camel and elephant, there is the real actor. In this case, the invisible actor. And invisible actor is immensely lovely. And he is, you know, egoless and viceless. He's immortal, and his starting position of everyone is they are lovely and they're lucky. We have the option to see that. Others may not understand if you are talking of this language to them, but your vision that will have respect and love. But it is not for the camel and elephant, not based upon the drama, based upon your, truth, the the reality behind the drama. And this is an important language, and it is a language of your heart. It will reach the heart.
Gives a lot of hope that with the attention on the other and that just seeing and respecting that divinity. Earlier there was a comment, we might even identify with language, so that can be problematic, but very nice that language of the heart will reach the heart, language of the soul will reach the soul. So maybe if there's anything you want to share before we take a room break.
Just coming back to this sketch that we saw. So we have seen so far what has happened to us, seen from the spiritual level. As if, and that superficially we know what is going on, but when you do the scanning, you see something different. It is a bit like that. Here you are scanning, you are seeing that there is something else going on here. Life is much more than just what we are seeing. What is happening at a deeper level, and there is an illness, and that illness has to be addressed. Like someone may be in a hospital, and we said someone may be in a party, but as if everyone need to address this deeper problem. And what can I do? And how do I bring about change here? Can anyone else help me in this? And the truth is, no one else can interfere in this. I have to do the job myself. And how do I do anything? Every second, I am creating time to come to this awareness. Every second you are becoming conscious. The invisible traveler becomes conscious. We call it soul consciousness. It is getting nourishment. Every second, some of these false identities become conscious. They are getting nourishment. And praise and all, it is a nourishment for it. Here, we want to nourish the true identity. And as this gets nourished, that is the way we remove the false identities. We are seeing the theory, but it is good for us to know. And then we have to see what exactly we can practice. And is it that easy? But we have to understand it. And every minute you are creating time here, it is going to nourish this. So some of the practices we had, seeing yourself as an invisible traveler, you are using paras, you are seeing the bigger journey, you are seeing the supreme home. All these practices are nourishing the soul. And it is as if you are bringing light. And as you are bringing light, darkness is becoming less. You are removing darkness. Every time you are creating more light, understanding is the first step, but then we need to create minutes and minutes where you are seeing this invisible traveler visiting this world of camel and elephant. Create these minutes. Then you have started the process of true healing, deep healing. Nature wants us to be back in this position.
I always feel like underlining what was just shared, because we are so used to the psychology model, which is giving many insights and has very much its place, but without spiritual, the psyche, the spirit or the soul, then we only know the little eyes, and we can get into analysis paralysis potentially. So what you just said, we have the option to bring light, and this will as if reduce the power, and we see more from that higher consciousness. We can also make changes from strength. So I very much find this extremely helpful. So discussion question could be, what are the different kinds of false identification? And what is the answer to false identification? Just to start the discussion. Do you want to add anything, Prashant?
No, that's good.
Okay.
Question: has anyone got any ego? That's the question.
Yeah. Yeah, also a good question. So enjoy the opportunity to meet, and we'll see you in the main room in 10-15 minutes. Thank you. Hello, warm welcome back. I hope you had enough time to share. Of course, time is quite short, but some really great discussions. And so, invitation to create a minute for that true I.
Thank you. And thank you to Sanjay. I know it is quite late for you. And also it is late for some others. Appreciate the interest. Yeah, happy to let us take the questions.
So one came earlier. What if I don't go up the spiral, but I can be at peace and stable rather than going up and down?
Yes. It is not that much going up in physically. It is like inner progress, and it is represented in a spiral. The reason we need to make that, that extra effort to hold on to that perspective, invisible, that whole dimension, invisible. It needs some effort to grapple with that, to know that you are the observer of this world. ego doesn't like it. Ego wants to very much stay in the old position. So there is an effort. The reason we have to get on the upward spiral, otherwise it is not a stable position. It may appear stable, but the movement is downward. This applies to 100% of the population. If we are not actively going up, we are going down. Just like the physical body, the day the body stops growing, which happens around the age of 19, there are certain cells in the body called blast cells. Those blast cells contribute to the growth of different organs. So when the body stops growing, the same cells change into clast cells. And those cells bring about destruction of the body. So any of you are more than 19 years of age, then good news. that there are already clast cells in action. The same thing happens at other levels, spiritual level. If we are not actively going up, we are going down. Natural force is like a gravity taking us different direction. Yeah. Let us hear other things.
In the rooms, there was one question or reflection. If we are playing different roles in our life, do we just hold on to, say, one identity and play with one sort of behavior?
Yeah. No, the drama goes on with the different roles and different situations. Drama goes on. Like there is a camel and elephant. Drama is going. But the actor is completely different to the drama. To realize that. When you use paras, you can handle it. You can sort of say, yes, this is a drama and this is the part. And the real you is so different. The invisible actor in this case. Yesterday we gave the example, Peter is acting as a camel. And I say, still, Peter is so different to camel. Nothing to do with camel. Peter, his identity is different. So also here, the invisible actor is so different. And when our present state, we are so pulled by these false identities that the true identity is completely suppressed, almost unconscious. We have to nourish that by actively realizing that there is the invisible actor here. And this is more important than all the glitter and the gold in the drum. There is the actor. So that is the identity, not creating an identity based on the camel and the elephant.
So in a way, behavior will just be naturally according to the what is suitable, relevant, but emphasis is more on the consciousness.
Yes. When you are in that higher consciousness, then you are most balanced. As was said, you are secure and there is richness of the heart and richness of the head. From that space, you do the right things.
One comment when Sanji was sharing of the reality in this situation and in the drama there, it brings out a natural sense of stepping back from the story world, and it's a bit like a bereavement. It also creates the atmosphere a sort of disinterest and introspection. But after a while, one can get caught up again. So it's a comment, but if there's anything that either Sanjay or Prashant you would like to share.
And then maybe Sanjay want to add?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Definitely, this is like roller coaster. Once it's up, next second it's down, and you have to deal with it. You have to be determined and stubborn to bring more and more this perspective of the truth. Because once you accept that truth fully, totally, then it's a matter of practicing it, as was said. It's not a theory, and you cannot just take it as knowledge and that's it. You have to make it yours. You have to make it, and the way to do it is to practice more and more seconds, more minutes, and eventually it will become the natural nature. And maybe it's not necessary to wait too long, just practice. This is the experience here. So practice help very much. But first, fully accept this model, this truth. It's not a theory. Otherwise, without accepting it as the only truth, nothing but the truth, then you can be stuck back in what you already know. So it's a jump, it's a high jump, it's a quantum jump, but you need to be sure and full faith that this is the only way. And then the success is guaranteed and the prizes are there waiting for you to take. Much fun, much joy, much happiness, maybe for a few seconds here and there, but you don't want to miss them. This is the feelings here. Thank you.
Interesting, you emphasize these short experiences, and one comment was the awareness of soul, being conscious, and the ego, and how quickly we change from one to the other. And so what you're emphasizing, I guess, is really really going for it. I wonder if we start with a premise to experiment, because I know I have a resistance to wanting to believe something in order to feel good, because the foundation is weak. So I don't know if you started with experiments and then became sure. Or if it just builds, perhaps. What about Prashant? Did you feel this model was true at the beginning? How do you recommend someone to start? Is it okay to experiment at these minutes?
Yeah, it is. It all happens like that. You play with it, experiment with it. You feel it is sometimes, very clear, but to nourish that when you are understanding, yes, this makes sense, to nourish it. I want to just add one more thing, if it is okay. I'm going back to the board, and we spoke about the different identities, our selfie, and our different identities. And what happens is, what I observed, anytime there is unpleasant emotion, sometimes mm, it can be little irritation, little feeling offended, feeling uncomfortable, any stress, sad. I have been able to trace it back to the false identity in almost every case. And it is good to do this. This is the way you know also what you are identifying with. Otherwise, superficially, we may not know. But we may say, oh, okay, someone is identifying with the job, someone is identifying with the car, okay. But in myself, you observe many different identities. Whenever there is some unpleasant feeling, that is a good chance to see what is the reason here. And so there is always an identity. Why does it help? The moment you have seen it, you see the absurdity of it. You are saying, what am I identifying with a plant? How bizarre, taking emotions and creating enemies also. You are seeing the absurdity of it. Identifying with religion, I noticed this, and I'm giving this example, religion. I don't practice the religion in which I'm born. It is not, those ideas are not for me. But still I notice I'm identifying with it. I'm seeing the absurdity of it, but it may be less today than 20 years ago, but I notice it is still there. I would rather have people praise that religion than criticize, something like that. But good to observe this, because moment you observe each of these identities, I am able to see the absurdity, because it is based on the story. It is, and blatantly, it is not me. Like it can be, say, car, or it can be, say, you may be doing cooking, some soup, and someone says, I don't like this soup. You can take the offense. You're identifying with the soup. And but when you trace it back and see clearly, black and white, you see the absurdity. But it is not just at that time you become free from it. You remove, by shining light there, that identity becomes weaker. And the next time same situation comes, you find your reactions are different, because the seed of that negativity is addressed and removed. And that is healing. What I also observed in myself, I identify with images. I may identify with soup, and I identify with we said plant, but image that I am punctual, I am what polite, I am the one who should be respected, I am the one who is good. Always, there are certain images that are there, and circumstances come to prove that it is not the case. It is not like that, and that is, creates discomfort. And when I trace back, it is nothing physical, nothing gross, but an image, and I have created an identity based on subtle in the image. And but good to observe it, because moment it is observed, as was said, the seed gets addressed. I don't say it disappears 100%, but it becomes significantly weaker. We use the language, half the battle is won. And each time it comes next, you know what is going on, and you are not blaming others. You know that this has to go, that kind of thing. So our journey for the healing is on two fronts. One is you keep nourishing the wonderful truth that is already there, true self, and you also shine light on what is false. Both fun. I find it fun. Situations come, life will offer different circumstances, different situations, and you are using those situations for the growth and progress, and that is a nice process.
It's very nice. Observe, identifying with the soup and ordinarily want to react, but having the chance to see, there was an identity. And someone said, can we move away from the identity? So could you just, maybe you've already said it, but do we move away or do we replace?
Yes, replacing with the true identity.
It's a bit
It is like it's a game minute to minute. This minute I come in the true identity, but tomorrow I wake up, I might find myself in the other identity, but that's okay. It is not a job done for lifetime. We need to continue nourishing. That is the game. Every minute you are coming to that true identity, you are making it stronger.
Thank you. I know it's slightly over time. I don't know if it'd be possible to have a quick question to Sanjay. I see he's still with us. You mentioned practice and to be successful in this endeavor. Isn't it necessary and essential to also have the lifestyle and the right company and the daily routine? That was a question for Sanjay. Do you have any?
Well, the answer is definitely yes, because living the old identity, the false identity, and embracing the real one, it's a given thing that one needs to change lifestyle. But I might think that Prashant will address this in the course in the next sessions about lifestyle or whatever relating to this. So
Certainly
Sure.
basically yes, yeah.
complements, doesn't it? Otherwise, we might be trying to lift ourselves up from our bootstraps while wearing the boots. So everything complements. Yeah. Thank you. So lots of appreciation. And I think Prashant already gave us a kind of homework in this becoming aware. But is there anything you wanted to add, Prashant, before we finish today?
Yes, this is like a long-term homework for us to use life circumstances for that, observing what you're identifying with, and creating time for the true. Use a homework at a practical level for next 24 hours is, the experiment with Paras. Maybe create 10 times, 1 minute each time, seeing with the Paras, but let it be 100% Paras. Try and see what it means to see in a new way. Then we have the contrast. Once we have seen these two sides, then we have the option to choose which perspective I want to choose.
Which news to tune into?
Mhm.
And Sanjay was saying 10 times for 1 minute, was that? Very good.
If you create more than 1 minute, no one will complain.